Maybe in a few. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so. I would be just you too. Jokes and everybody.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. It was properly posted on December 14th. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the sheriff.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sheriff. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any individual consideration on the consent docket? If not, is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Danny.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just hit a couple slides here this morning. The first one will be the general fund as of the end of November.
The monthly report or the PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint, please. And to date, we've collected 14.6 million in revenue. That's about 15% of what we budget for the year. We ended the month with a cash balance of 7.5 million. We have transferred in 20 million from other funds, the temporary transfers. Those will be paid back in January now that we've started collecting our property tax. The very next slide is still general fund. To date, we have collected 3.1 million more in revenue than we did at the same time last year. And we have spent about 1.9 million more than a year ago. So everything's on track where it is typically this time of year. Employee benefits fund, looking really good. Projected ending balance based on actual data through November is 1.7 million. We're in such good shape, mostly because of the CARES reimbursements. To date, we are estimating that we'll bring in about $2.6 million from the CARES fund into this fund. All total, when you look at last year, what we reimbursed from the CARES, we've brought in about 4.6 million from the CARES fund into the employee benefits fund to reimburse for CARES related expenses. Mm-hmm. And then the very last slide is our capital projects. There's one item, I think it's the last item on the list, where they are recommending that we move 14,784 out of the out of the capital projects as needed. There's $240,000 that's set aside for that. So that money would come out of the $240,000 that's already been budgeted. That's all I have.
Questions of Danny?
Can you tell me where the listing of the additional CARES money is on that budget?
Sure. For the employee benefits fund?
Yes, sir. Where does it come in? Where's it noted?
There's a slide right after, let's see, that's the second to last slide.
Comparison?
Yeah, the comparison over on the right is what we've collected through November. Okay. And then the slide before that, or two slides before that, is the estimated annual. There toward the top, you see 2.6 million estimated for CARES reimbursements.
Gotcha. Thank you.
On that, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So when we're looking at, obviously, the our employee benefits programs are ongoing expenses. CARES Act is obviously a one-time thing.
Right.
And I appreciate the fact that we want to, we're using it in a way that it can be done. Are we making sure, I assume we are, that we're not baking that kind of figure into the budget? That's a problem that has plagued the state for a long time, is using one-time funds to do things in the budget and then not undoing that at the time that's the case.
Correct. Yeah, the very first line or column there is the estimated budget that we built our employee benefits budget on this year. It does not include, all it includes is the 326,000 of CARES reimbursements that we knew at the time, that we knew about. So we've incurred expenses throughout the year, and then we get reimbursed throughout the year. But we have not built our budget based on what we anticipate, the 2.6 million. Now we're estimating, the estimated annual column is based on what we think we'll end the year with, the $1.7 million positive balance. If we didn't have the CARES money reimbursement, yeah, we might be in a little bit more trouble. But, our medical claims are up considerably because of the COVID-related medical expenses also. So they offset each other.
And maybe this will be a question for Mr. Wilkerson, but do we, feel free to defer to him, but do we attribute the increase in claims to that? And do we, he's saying yes? Yeah. Okay, he'll address it when it comes up. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're, the cardinal sin of budgeting is to bake in, ongoing budget expenses with one time. I mean, sometimes if you do it, you just got to make sure you undo that. And
Of course.
don't raise budgets beyond what they should.
Of course. Yes, sir.
I'll motion to receive the report.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Compton.
I'll make this quick. No new items this month. Continuing to monitor those that are currently there.
Motion to receive.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Wilkerson, beat that.
I can't do that. I'll be quick. Good morning. Just real quickly, I'll touch on your question, Mr. Calvi, as well. Our COVID claims last fiscal year started ramping up in March, April, and we're really seeing the downward spiral of paying those claims. Now we're just paying run-out claims. So that COVID reimbursement is, of course, for the COVID-related claims we paid, and now we're seeing all our inpatient, our big cases are dropping off on that for the last couple of months. Unless there's a resurgence or something new that we don't know about, we're seeing that those claims drop off, and that's a wash. So we paid COVID claims, received reimbursements, a wash, not budgeted in for next year. The good news is, the really good news is, moving forward, is our prescription rebates. We're seeing really a big increase in those. So just put this in perspective. Last year we had $1.4 million in rebates. Back in 2017, when we started this program, we were getting $300,000 in rebates. We're up to 1.4 last year, and this year it's looking like we're going to get about $2.4 million overall in prescription rebates. So additional $1 million on top of what we had last year into the fund, and that's going to be great. And then looking forward to going into next fiscal year, we still have some claims we're going to pay for COVID run out, about $500,000 hopefully. Those claims were incurred a couple months ago. Takes time for them to go through the payment cycle, but we're going to get about $500,000 more COVID claims. And again, all new cases have stopped, big cases related to COVID. And then looking through the end of the year, we should be great. Right now, we're about 11% under where we were last year, which is good. And we haven't even bumped up against the big claim months of last fiscal year, the March, the April, the May. So overall employee benefits is looking great. And again, we're going to have an additional about $1 million put in there by the end of this fiscal year on top of everything else.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Isn't that $1 million increase because of the volume that was increased of spending because of COVID?
Partly and not. Long story short, there was a big delay in when we received those prescription rebates. It used to be a 6 to 7 month period. When the quarter ended, then we'd receive them 6 to 7 months later. They changed their payment cycle. So they had some payments they were holding on under that old payment cycle that they released. So we received a lump sum of reimbursement for that. And now they're releasing them pretty quick after the quarter's over. So we're going to receive, we just received this week, $558,000 a check for prescription rebates. We should receive 3 more of those checks before the end of the fiscal year. and hopefully they're a little larger, if that makes sense. But yeah, utilization drives our prescription rebates too as well. And then the timing of when they're releasing those payments, we get them sooner, if that makes sense.
Yes.
That's really all I have.
Okay, is there a motion to
Motion to
receive?
receive.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Compton.
Good morning again. The members of BET that are here are going to join me at our last BET meeting. We realized that Ms. Henley is retiring. Kelly Henley has served not only as an alternate on our committee, but she is the clerk. She's done a bunch of work from helping departments on the front end prepare their estimate of needs. I know I've gone to her quite a bit. She really helps everybody iron everything out before it even gets to us. And then as we're going through the process, she is somebody that we lean on a lot to help us. And we really, really appreciate all the service that she has done for the county and for us. And for me personally, you help us keep the trains on track, the dotting all the T's and crossing all the I's, making sure we get everything done and putting the agenda items on here for us. And we will greatly miss you.
Not even gonna let her open up her own gift?
She's helped us enough. I figure I can do that a little bit.
Thank you so much. That's sweet.
Thank you.
I'll miss you all. County family means everything to me.
On behalf of all the county officers, we are absolutely going to miss you, and some of us may not know how much we're going to miss you until you're gone.
Yes, indeed.
It says on the plaque, if you haven't spread it, it says retirement is for quitters.
That was the first draft.
And
Kelly-
Kelly, remind us how long you've worked here.
20 years.
Well, you're a youngster.
Take that award back.
I have 16 and a half with private county, so I've been doing this a long time.
Thank you
And
for
you've
your
been
service.
doing it well.
So do you need to recognize?
Is there a motion for that required?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Cody.
All right, 37 has been touched on briefly by both Danny and John. This is a recommendation for a reimbursement to our employee benefits plan of $1,061,623.12. These are COVID-related medical expenses that have already been incurred by our employee benefits plan. This would reimburse those expenses from our CARES dollars.
Motion to approve. Where does this leave our balance on CARES?
I've got a report here that shows what the balance will be if all of the items today that are recommended. We've got a few more. I can do some quick math and add.
It's about $172,000. Isn't that correct?
If all the items today that we have recommendations to be funded from CARES, if all of those are approved, it would leave $164,171.76. To your specific question, though, if we funded this and left the other pieces in there, there would be some more. We just need to add back the other items that are in the future agenda.
Further questions?
Just a comment, and that's great. Cannot overemphasize the point that the commissioner made a while ago, is one-time funds can sure get you in trouble overnight. So we just have to, and we've got the team that knows that and that will work with that. But I just remind you that there is no, at this point, there are no additional CARES funds as of the end of December. So anyway, just do emphasize that I think we've done great with them, but they won't be there in the next budget.
And if anything happens, we can just blame Kelly, so.
And I should expound on my $161,000 or $164,000 statement just a little bit. That is also leaving $487,345.34 in the CARES account for future employee benefits related COVID expenses. Mr. Wilkerson is anticipating roughly $237,000 that's already in the queue but hasn't quite got here yet. And then he's comfortable with about a $250,000 balance sitting in there to pay for the claims that are going to continue to trickle in onto the account that were incurred within this calendar year. But some providers, they have up to, I think, a year to submit those claims. And so we'll have some stuff filter in over the next several weeks. So that way we have the 237 to cover what we already know is still going to come in. And then we have a little bit of a buffer there to cover future claims.
Okay, the reason I bring up, without getting into what these items are, I know there are some other, needs out there. So that's why I was wanting to get a handle on what it was.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'll motion.
we've got a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Mr. Wilkerson?
Good morning again. This is our standard renewal agreement with Channelbound. We've used them for years. They do our tax reporting on the health plan. Every year we're required to send the IRS a file of who's covered, how long they were covered, and some details. And we're supposed to send out tax notices to employees for informational purposes only. And they handle those services and just asking for your approval for this.
Any change in the numbers?
No, sir.
And so what is the contract? How much for?
$6,158 in no cents.
We think it makes sense, but.
Okay.
I move approval.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Compton?
Okay, item 39 is a recommendation to transfer some of our CARES dollars back to OIA. If you recall, we transferred a pretty substantial amount of CARES dollars to OIA to handle our small business grants and whatnot. They didn't utilize all those dollars, so they sent them back. Well, during their audit process, they realized that some of the legal administrative fees, well, the legal fees specifically related to it, that they spent when they were going through the CARES account was not paid for from the CARES dollars. So during that audit, they recognized that bill that was still outstanding. So they requested that we send them that money to cover that expense. That was an expense related to the county program that we request them to perform.
I have a question. The money they gave back was the legal percentage given back also? It wasn't their legal fees, was it based on a percentage, the $15 million we gave them?
No.
Okay.
No, it was just, they had administrative costs, they had legal costs, they had all these other costs, as well as the costs going out the door for the grants. And they paid for all of that, but they missed this one bill that was left.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Okay. Item number 40, we're still talking about CARES dollars. Item number 40 is a recommendation to transfer, this would be within the CARES account, from our main CARES account, 1400-350 into the 1400-354, which is the juvenile line item within CARES. The total amount of the transfer would be $210,000. This would cover hazard/hero pay for those individuals that qualify, approximately 130 individuals at $1,500 a piece, instead of doing it on a monthly basis like they did last year, just looking at a lump sum. And those totals, when you look at that, plus the FICA associated with it, would be $210,000. Any money that, if the 130, if it's 128 that qualify, or 127, they'll just send that money back to us like they did last year.
Is there a time frame on how long someone has to be there to be able to enjoy these benefits?
Ms. Overstreet, do you want to speak to your eligibility requirements? My understanding is it's the same eligibility requirements that they utilized last year.
Morning.
Good morning.
The sheriff's office and juvenile have discussed this so that our criteria would be the same. We are only going to give $1,000 if approved to those employees that have been with us less than 6 months. The people that get $1,500 are people that are in good standing and have been with us longer than 6 months. That winds up to be as of today, and that'll change because people will leave or whatever. But 94 employees would qualify for the 1,500 and 36 for the 1,000.
So any money that they don't spend, it's still within our CARES account. It's just in their line item, the 354. So if there's money left over, then it would just be we can always roll it back into the main 350 account.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, 41, I will say ditto, except for it's the sheriff's office, and they've got a few more employees than juvenile does. That's the reason why there is a dollar amount difference. It'd be $339,100 total.
I would like to say I will absolutely support this because the sheriff is my hero.
I'll second.
What is going on today? You two? I mean,
About that stop last night.
That's why you were here so early this morning. You stayed here.
Sheriff, do you have anything to say?
Yes, just to echo exactly what Ms. Jamie said, we will be giving some back just based on the eligibility of each individual deputy. That'll all be taken into consideration. We'll roll it out the same way. We wanted to be on page and above board, understanding that, yes, hero pay is very deserving for the guys and gals that were out there serving this year, but we also understand that, for the ones who've been serving the entire year and for the ones 6 months and under, there should definitely be a difference.
Okay, is there a motion?
And we did it, motion second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 42 is a little bit different than 40 and 41. It is hazard/hero pay, but it's a little bit different. After looking at everything last year, when we were in the throes of COVID and everything was changing, and we got money over to the sheriff's office and to juvenile to pay for hazard hero pay, the $500. I'm sorry, I think it was $1,000 a month for 5 months. So those employees got $5,000 last year whenever they were right there in the middle of it. We failed to recognize our emergency management department. When everything kicked off, the state of Oklahoma made our emergency management department a regional office for S&S supplies. So they spun up a pod out at at their facility on the Krause campus, and they were passing out S&S to local law enforcement, fire departments. I mean, they really changed their operation overnight to respond to this. We did not address that public safety group when we did the others last year. So this recommendation here is to put them in the same position that we had the other public safety folks last year. So it would be the same $5,000, $1,000 a month at 5 months that we gave them would be for the 4 emergency management folks.
Move approval.
And to be clear about this, law enforcement is the only ones eligible, correct?
Well, it'd be public safety, I think.
Public safety.
Which would include emergency management.
And those that had their job function completely changed. And they never did handing out S&S supplies. I mean, they weren't doing their regular job that they normally do. It was something completely brand new. Not doing what they were doing before, just in a different way. They were doing something completely different that was responding 100% to the pandemic. Passing out masks, passing out PPE at the Krause facility, our emergency management department, the garage that's on that campus that's where emergency management houses some of their equipment, and that's where they spun that up. It was a secure location with a gate so they could lock it down. You had, people coming getting, they went through tons of SNS supplies.
Was it like here where we go down and sign for them and get them? And is that the way they were doing it?
I was out there a few days during their process. I'm not an expert on what they did, but I know they did have a tracking mechanism to where they were tracking where these SNS supplies were going, who was getting them, and whatnot. And just for the record, it wasn't just the 4 full-time employees of emergency management that were doing that. I saw some other county employees that were coming out there from time to time. Dan Matthews was out there. I know Joe Blau and myself were out there a little bit. But their volunteers that they have for our emergency management department, the volunteers spent countless hours out there and really dedicated a lot of time. It was a big group effort. It was pretty amazing to watch them make that adjustment on the fly. And if this particular item is approved, this is the last of our recommendations related to CARES. So if this one's approved and then we have that set aside for employee benefits, there would be $164,000 remaining.
Questions? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Jamie?
Item 43 is just to move money from M&O to capital. I have 2 items doing the same thing, one to the bureau budget and one to the detention budget. Item 43 is the bureau budget, and this is to take care of future repairs and things that will be capital expenses. Since we were coming here anyway to move the money in detention, which is item 44, for some specific expenses around repairing kitchen drain, cameras, and those kinds of things, we know that before the end of the fiscal year, we'll have some. And so I thought, I'll just go ahead and do both. And this also allows us to keep within the 90% rule. So that's item 43 to the Bureau, M&O to capital.
Is there a motion?
On motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did we just approve 43 and 44?
No, we just
No.
approved 43.
And item 44 is the detention budget, $11,000 from M&O to capital.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Is there all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
45, go ahead.
All right, I am requesting your consideration and approval to implement pay raises for some of our positions. Would be effective December 21st, so their first increase would be seen on their January paycheck. The maximum cost for this will be $339,524. That would be if all of the identified positions were filled for the remainder of this fiscal year. They will be paid for within my current budget. We have generated some surplus. Right now we have 25 detention officer vacancies. 15 of those are the new positions that you all approved, and it takes a while to get them on board. So some of the surplus will be generated through the turnover. Last year we turned back $246,000 surplus between the 2 budgets just in salary and fringe. So I'm estimating that we will be able, well, I'm confident we will be able to cover these expenses for half a year. It would give 76% of our employees an increase. That's 118 employees. And the positions that are identified for that increase are the detention officer series, the kitchen series, custodial and maintenance workers, and probation and intake officers. The reason that I'm asking for your support and approval is that I need you to understand that if you support this, it will cause an increase to my FY23 budget because I won't be able to pay for the whole year out of surplus that's generated. A full year's cost right now, without any increase in benefit costs next year or COLAs or anything like that, is just over 679,000. I'm conservatively estimating that we will have 204,000 plus in salary and fringe for both budgets combined at the end of FY23 that we would be giving back. So again, I think that's conservative. I think it'll be higher, but I don't want to sell myself short and then get in a bind. So if you take that 204,000 and subtract it from the total cost, you're at 475. That is every position filled every day with benefits, and we all know that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you how much less than the 475, but that would be the maximum amount.
Now, that 475 though would be for next fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
And for this fiscal year, so the 6 months at increase you're asking for, you say you can do that without having to have additional money.
Yes, sir.
But this is exactly what you guys were talking about. That will increase her budget by almost $500,000 next year.
Well, she'll have to fight for that next year.
And can you maybe walk us through, this is to get employees, this is not necessarily, an exorbitant bonus, increase in their pay. This is to get them up to, say, a regional average or something similar.
Yeah. For example, we have 5 custodial positions, and that position starts out at $12.80 an hour. So this increase would raise them $1.20 an hour. That would bring them to 14. Culinary arts, those are the people that work in the kitchen. So that starts at $13.30 an hour, and this would bring them to 15 an hour, an increase of $1.70 an hour. Detention officer cadets, they start at $14.48 an hour, and we would bring them to 17 an hour, which is a $2.52 hour increase.
Where you have an exceptionally high turnover.
Yes.
Well, every business around is having that, so if nobody else has moved already, I'll move it in the amount of 475,000.
Second.
Any other questions?
Wait a minute, the 475,000, those for next year.
Yes, I don't want to implement this within existing funds without you understanding there will be an obligation next year.
So what you're really looking for is just for us to approve your item for this fiscal year.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me back that up and let's just say then approve. So are you actually asking for more funds, or are you just saying we're approving the funds that you already have and you implementing this?
And she's warning us that.
Knowing that there will be an increase next
She
year.
don't want to have to rift a bunch of employees next.
Yep, got it. Okay, well, let me back my motion up then, and let's just say I'll move to approve the action you've already taken with the pay raises you described that you're paying for within your current budget, so we don't need to transfer more funds at this time. Just recognize that we approve your action.
Okay.
Second.
Got that? Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jamie, for working on pay
we vote?
parity.
Oh, you're there. Gotcha.
I'm just saying thank you for,
You're
I
welcome.
know that was a lot of homework, and you worked with a lot of our BET members to answer their questions along the way, and I heard from multiple members that you provided really accurate and detailed information, which made their job a little easier, so thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I approve also, and not saying that everyone doesn't do this, but it's so, especially in your function, you've got whatever your officers are called, but then that you're also taking care of your kitchen staff, you're taking care of your janitorial staff. I think that's, I appreciate that as a member of this board.
Thank you.
Okay, motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you all very much.
Joe, are you talking to us on infrastructure?
Or is this Keith?
I don't care. Whichever one of you.
Who can get up there first?
Because if you shoot somebody, it's him and not me. In the spirit of
Depending on the angle.
Please.
If we all shoot.
We have 25 up lights on the exterior of the annex that are not functioning.
Up lights,
Up lights,
not down lights.
not down lights.
The hell's an uplight?
It lights the building from the
shines-
bottom
it
up.
Oh, it
shines up.
shoots, oh, I see, it shoots the light up.
Exactly.
You know how
These are,
sometimes we do different colors?
Oh,
These
Don't you move
are the
out?
colors.
This Jargo.
Is the uplights the color lights or the downlights? Are you gonna change the uplights to the color lights?
these are color changeable lights that were originally installed. The 25 lights that aren't working will be replaced with exact fixtures. So they'll be able to change color.
now,
Uh,
I understand this is technical, but so they're burned out.
Yeah,
How long have they been burned out?
months now. We've tried to make repairs and they just
Were
won't
they
work.
capable of changing colors, the one that were there?
Originally, yes, when they were new.
And it
These
does-
are LED lights that can change. The hue will vary, but there are controllers that make that happen.
And it doesn't cost extra to have the colored lights, does it?
Originally, yes.
Okay.
There was some discussion whether we have white lights or whether we have lights that can change color. And it was decided at the time those were installed that we need to have multicolored lights.
Which, if I recall, they were originally financed because of the Devon bid, right?
Mr. Your recollection is correct. This was done back when Ray Vaughn was here,
Right.
and
It was
we
his
were
big deal.
getting a lot of pressure from the city to do some things to make our building a little more
Aesthetically
pretty.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Christmassy.
Yes, Christmassy
Or
or OU
holiday-ish.
colored or.
So in the spirit of,
OSU.
yeah, either one, yeah, red and orange, all that. So in the spirit of how many budget board members does it take to change a light bulb, I'll move the item.
Second in the,
All in
Answer's
favor,
8.
say aye.
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 Any citizens who want to speak before the budget board?
God, we got a lot of great humor up
Yeah.
here today.
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott's? Okay, okay.
The assessor.
We've had a great outpouring of support from my staff to help Lily Field, a group that helps foster children who are trying to be going through the adoptive process. And I want to congratulate all my staff on that. And also, this devastation that happened. Sadly, Oklahoma is not unique. We have suffered those terrible tornadoes. And I was thinking when I was watching the videos, for a lot of those folks, the only government they have is county government. And you see the sheriff's cars in the videos. You think about what's going to happen to the court clerk records if they haven't digitized them, or the clerk's offices and all the other land records. It's devastating, and it's just amazing that this group has been so supportive of all the digitalization and all the things that we do, because we're that last stop for so many people. And Merry Christmas.
Coming in, of course, we're actually into our busy time of the year with both walk-ups as well as the mortgage companies all paying, since they're required to pay 100% by the end of the year. Going very smooth. So, and again, that's because of my people. That's the sole reason.
Well, thanks to your folks, both of you, for the great work you all do. I echo your remarks and would just like to tell everybody Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
I'd like to wish everyone a blessed Christmas season and happy Hanukkah. And I'd like to thank everyone on the budget board for being so supportive of everything we do together. And we see each other a lot out speaking and at events, and it's really very nice to have everyone where everyone kind of likes each other and gets along, because I've seen it the other way. Merry Christmas.
From my 131 employees, 8 part-time employees, we wish you all our county family, a Merry Christmas. And from my heart as your court clerk, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
The sheriff's office, and I really appreciate the partnerships that all of us have developed, and the support and the guidance that I've gotten from each and every one of you. So I thank you for this first year. It's truly been amazing, and I value this time.
Okay, I join in with everybody on Merry Christmas. Is there any new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody got a handkerchief?
They're right here. They're in front of you.
Yes.